What's up, guys? Sorry I didn't get a video out to you yesterday. I was traveling around California doing all types of ill shit. I want to do a video for you today, though, because I've been getting a lot of questions about nuts and seeds and things like that. And now that there's a lot of people out there following a plant-based diet, nuts and seeds are becoming a more popular item for people who are into bodybuilding. And they actually always have been. They've always been out there. There was a guy back in the day who was with the original West Side Barbell Club that used to put on weight with peanuts, and they called them peanuts. And I got that story from Joe DeMarco, who used to train over there at Metroflex with some of the amazing power lifters that were over there. But nuts, even though they can be a fantastic bodybuilding food, they do have their problems. Let's go into what's fantastic about them. First things first, nuts are extremely nutritionally dense, and I'm talking about tree nuts. I mentioned peanuts earlier, but peanuts are actually more of a bean or a legume. Tree nuts like macadamia nuts, almonds, Brazil nuts, they are super nutritionally dense. Brazil nuts, for example, are fantastic for people who are doing intermittent fasting or who are doing a ketogenic diet because they have selenium, and selenium actually really helps your thyroid to perform optimally. And so I eat a lot of Brazil nuts. But the problem with nuts is that even though they're extremely nutritionally dense, they're also not very digestible. And there's a reason for that. Most plants aren't digestible in their raw form. So when we think about plants, we're not thinking about something that's just sitting there waiting for you to eat it. It's actively forming defense systems over its evolution, over the thousands of years it's been in existence, to allow it to survive. That's why it's still here. Otherwise, all the animals would have eaten it up and it would never have been able to regenerate itself. So when we think about plants, we really want to think about what their defense systems are, and their major defense system, because since they can't get up and claw your eyes out or run you over or anything like that, what they do is they protect themselves from being digested. So nuts, seeds, things like that, you want to think about that. What does a bird do when it eats a seed? It eats it and then it poops it out. And so when it poops it out, that gives that seed another chance to be regenerated. And if you're not able to digest something, it actually causes damage to your system. Anything that you cannot digest is going to cause damage to your system. And that's true whether you're able to chew it or not. If it's still particles in your gut, those are undigested food particles. And when you have undigested food particles hanging around in your gut, that leads to some pretty bad things. Now remember, your gut actually houses a lot of your immune system. So if you have undigested food in there, undigested food particles that are hanging out for a while, your body starts to release what they call inflammatory cytokines. And those cytokines try to attack those food particles as foreign material. This is one of the reasons why some people have problems with gluten. It's because the protein in it, gliadin, is not very digestible, and your body releases inflammatory cytokines to attack gliadin. But when this happens, sometimes the inflammatory cytokines can't tell the difference between the non-digested food particles and your gut lining, and so it starts to inflame your gut lining. And the thing about the gut is because it has the immune system in there, that separation between all your waste products and your immune system in your gut is about a single cell lining thick. So if that gets penetrated or it gets scratched up or anything like that, what happens is your body starts developing allergies. And so your immune system reacts to different types of foods because that barrier has been crossed. So we really want to avoid that. It also leads to things like what I have, ulcerative colitis, which is one of the reasons I'm telling you about this, is because I've screwed this up a lot before. So am I saying not to eat nuts? Am I saying not to eat seeds? And am I saying not to eat salads or anything like that? No. What I am saying is that we have to make them more digestible before we eat them. So when we're eating nuts, especially things like macadamia nuts or almonds or Brazil nuts, we want to soak them. And for those bigger nuts, they're going to be bigger nuts. For those bigger nuts, you're going to want to soak them for a period of 24 hours. And I'm going to put a link below for a website that has a guide as to how long to soak different kinds of nuts. And that will render them digestible. When we're talking about grains and especially wheat or brown rice or quinoa, you really want to soak those as well, and you want to sprout them. And I'll put a guide for soaking and sprouting in the links below as well. And that's one of the things I will not eat quinoa unless it's been soaked or sprouted. Soaked and sprouted. I will not eat brown rice in general because it's got phytic acid in it and other things that keep it from being fully digested. A lot of people soak oats for 24 hours before they eat them to make them more digestible. So these are strategies to make nutritionally dense food more digestible. The biggest things I'll say to you guys is monitor yourself. If you're eating something that's giving you gastric distress, that means that there's something wrong going on. So it's really important that you monitor yourself after you eat certain foods. Additionally, with salads, I won't eat raw salads anymore because a lot of the salads I get when I go out and about, they come in these big leaves that haven't been penetrated. If you're going to get one of those, if you don't have the opportunity to saute or cook your vegetables, then cut them up into as smaller pieces as possible, and that can penetrate that vegetable wall. I'm not talking about nuts. If you blend nuts or cut them up into smaller pieces, they're still going to be hard to digest, but specifically green vegetables, cut them up into as small pieces as possible. Sorry, I can't talk today. And that will penetrate that vegetable wall lining. But if you're preparing them at home, steam them, saute them, make them a bit more digestible. And even some of the prominent vegans, I think like Vegan Gains, he's got big problems with the raw vegan diet. In particular, doesn't have problems with the vegan diet, obviously, but the raw vegan diet in many ways can lack digestibility. And if you are following a raw diet, just be aware of what you can digest and what you can't. I'm not saying it's good or bad or anything like that, so don't come at me. You probably will anyways. But just be aware of your digestion. Take care of your gut, and the rest of your body will follow, and so will your mind. Remember, your gut and your brain are connected, and anything that's happening in your gut is going to affect your brain as well. I hope this made sense. I hope it was super informative for all of you. If you got any questions, you hit me up at info@warriorsoulapparel.com. And final word is this: soak your nuts.